in this video, I want to talk about how I became a early witness. So, you know, when I watch like these other ex-JW videos, they're like servants, pioneers, elders, they were gung-ho going 10,000% Jehovah's Witness. And, me on the other hand, I just, I just never, became that person, or I wasn't allowed to become that person. So I'm just going to explain how this happened and how basically the organization sets you up to have no balance, where you have to figure out a way or a source in order to gain balance in your life so you don't go crazy. So I went to a school where it was a lot of witnesses in my school, in my high school. There was like 50 or 60 of us. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. How do you get 50 and 60 Jehovah's Witnesses in one high school? Well, I went to a county school, and it was a technical school. So basically the ideal for the parents of the children was that, the kids go to school, learn a skill, and then after they learn a skill, they come out and they pioneer. So I was supposed to learn like something that was going to get me a job right away. So ideally, the hall, they pushed you to do the nursing program, to become a nurse's aide when you graduate, or like the auto program, so you can start, working on cars right away, or even the computer program. Like those were the programs that you were ideally supposed to choose. Well, I didn't do that. I did the art program, which, was frowned upon. And the friends will talk about you. Like if you didn't do a program that was going to help you pioneer, people looked at you sideways. I remember there was a program in my school that was for entertainment and music, and a young brother in my hall decided to do that. And I remember a sister like complaining, like, first of all, this wasn't even her child. She was like complaining, I can't believe he signed up for the music program. That ain't nothing but Satan. What is he doing that for? He's better off doing like a computer program, or the auto program. Why is he doing that? And I'm like, why do you even care? Like, this is not your kid. If you want to do the music program, let him do the music program because he enjoys music. Because that was a class you would have to take three blocks or 2 blocks. So meaning you'll spend 2 or 3 hours in that class every day, basically, until you graduated high school. So what was the point of putting him in a program that he wouldn't enjoy, just so he can say he can pioneer when he get out of school? And he may not even feel like pioneering 4 years later down the line from picking the course when you are 14 and then graduating at 18. So it's just a silly idea. But that's where all the witnesses were sent. That was the school where all the witnesses were sent. So it was a county school. So, I was going to high school with people that lived by the shore. I didn't live by the shore, all the way onto the other side of the state. So when I say I know people from Circus, I literally do, because they put us all in the same high school together, right? So when I speak bluntly and plainly about the things that I see in the organizations, because I had a huge access to a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses at one period of time. And when I was in high school, I anticipated us, naively coming in as a freshman, being a joint group, and us standing out above the other non-witness kids, and us having like a Jehovah table, or a day where we studied a watchtower together, or just basically encouraging us to stay in the truth. Because as I mentioned in my other videos, I spent a lot of time with the pioneers when I was 14 and 15, and they basically raised me. So I'm coming into high school with that energy, and then I get there, no one has that same energy but me. And I would say about 80% of the Jehovah's Witness kids that I went to high school were not acting like Jehovah's Witnesses. And that, see, when you're going to high school by yourself, right, you have your own conscience to worry about, right? But when you go to high school with a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm saying 50, 60 of them, you have the conscience to worry about not only of you, but the 50 or 60 people around you, right? And it's like another, not only you have to go to the hall and worry about those people conscious, but then you have to go to high school and you have to do the same thing. Well, I guess collectively, they all made a decision that I'm not going to act like a witness, you know? So people had worldly boyfriends, people celebrated birthdays. I've seen some celebrate holidays, say Merry Christmas, Happy Halloween, you know, throughout the hallway. And it was jarring to me because here am I, you know, spending majority of my time out in the ministry, and all these other witness kids are not acting like Jehovah's Witnesses. So, you know, I go to my brothers, and then within my congregation, there were 6 or 7 of us that went to the same high school. So I'm telling the brothers, because that's what we were told to do. You know, if you see someone sinning, you go to the elders and you tell on them. So I was a snitch. I snitched on all the young people in my hall. So I got labeled as self-righteous, and I thought I was better than everyone. And, you know, they all stopped talking to me. All of them stopped talking to me, but I apparently they had like a secret code between them that they weren't going to snitch on each other. Well, they never explained that to me. They never shared that with me. So when I get to high school and I see them cursing, I see them doing all this stuff, I'm like shocked and appalled. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, we're Jehovah's people, you know? So I spent majority of high school just hanging out. You know, I didn't hang out with any of the witnesses in high school. Like, I would, you know, some of them, they were cool. You know, I would hang out with some of them, you know, that acted like witnesses. But for the most part, most of them did not act like witnesses. And I'm seeing 50, 60 people baptized, you know. So I just got to a point towards the end of high school. I'm like, I'm tired of people labeling me self-righteous. I'm tired of people saying that I think I'm better than them. You know, I'm really trying to be a Jehovah's Witness, but this is lonely. You know, people talk about being lonely because they were the only witness in school, but imagine being lonely and you're not the only witness in school, and you got 50 people that share the same faith as you, and they won't talk to you because you're a snitch. So, and you know, then you have to turn around and see those people not only at high school, but then on the weekend at the meeting, and then at the assemblies and the conventions, and they all call you a snitch. It was big for me because it was the entire county of Jehovah's Witnesses that viewed me that way, right? So I was like, okay, I am going to try to loosen up. So there was this brother, he was a year older than me, and I started, basically, I guess we were dating, right? And he would try to introduce me to different lifestyles of, you know, just different people, because I didn't really, I guess I was sheltered in a sense because I hung out with a bunch of older people. So I never, you know, experienced anything. I was the only child. Yeah, I hung out with my cousins, but my cousins act more like Jehovah's Witnesses than I did, and they weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. So I never did anything, you know, I wasn't supposed to. So basically, because he was a witness, I felt more comfortable doing inappropriate things, or kissing him, or, you know, sneaking out and going places with him, because I felt a level of safeness with him, because I'm like, oh, well, he serves Jehovah, you know, his family serves Jehovah, and, you know, I serve Jehovah, so I feel comfortable with him, you know. And so he would introduce me to his friends, and, you know, they were worldly witnesses as well, you know. And then, you know, I started to peel back that layer of people thinking that I'm self-righteous, or people thinking that I think I'm better than them. I started to peel that layer back so that I could have some type of association, because honestly, I was lonely, But as time went on, me just, keeping my mouth shut and just, watching how people behave. And as I got older, I'm like, you know what? Why am I just watching people? And like, in my head, well, what the brothers teach is that, if you're a witness to sin, if you witness something and you don't say anything, you're participating in it. So I'm going in with that reasoning, like, all right, well, you're saying that I'm sinning for just watching this, so I might as well and I'm going to get the same punishment as someone just watching it, which is death. I might as well just participate, right? That was my reasoning. So, then I would start participating in the drinking and, and the partying. And, I never, the sad thing is, like, I would drink, party, talk to this brother, talk to that brother, whatever, but I wouldn't curse. Cursing is not my skill set. As you can see, I have like a super bubbly voice. Can you imagine like curse words coming out of my mouth? It just sounds crazy to me. But I would participate in their lifestyles. I remember, this alcohol is illegal in some states, but we used to get like a big thing of fruit punch and just put the whole bottle of Everclear in it, and it'll be 10 of us in the room drinking and just rolled out on the floor and doing some crazy stuff, and then turn around and just go to the meeting the next day, and that was my lifestyle. I almost fell out of college doing that. Like, I had to stop, but I was doing that from 18 to 17, 18 to maybe 22. And then I had to like calm down, because I was going to fail out of college if I didn't stop. So that's what made me stop the binge drinking and the going to parties every weekend. And the way that I talk about my worldly witness lifestyle was really only like 4 or 5 years of me really embracing that culture and really getting into that. What has stopped that, where I didn't really get drawn into it, is that I started dating my husband at the time. And when you start dating people, you no longer become marriage material, so people stop inviting you out. So there was a period of time where no one invited me out. People stopped calling me to hang out and stuff, because I was already taken. So I missed that. And then when I got married, then the whole other world of swinging and people trading spouses, then that was reintroduced to me, because those people that I hung out with when I was 20, 21, 22 were now married. And when they got married, they carried that lifestyle over into their marriage. And then when I got married, then they introduced me into a whole nother level of being a worldly witness. And that was the lifestyle that I actually rejected. I never really got into, that level, where I'm sure there's more deeper stuff of, what people do. But I only got to, under the underage drinking part, the smoking marijuana, or, the clubbing and dating worldly people. I only got to that level. I never got beyond that. So, I just feel like the organization kind of like sets you up for that. And I'm saying that because, there's no balance, right? People go into becoming a Jehovah's Witness like me, and they go 100%. But that 100% isn't tolerable, You become very unlikable. Like, when my aunt, she's been disfellowshipped for all of my life, and then she goes and get reinstated, and then she's over here counseling me on what I need to do, or who I need to be, what scripture I should follow. And she be saying I sound like worldly, and I be sounding like Satan. And it's funny, because I can't get mad at her, because when I got baptized, I was doing the same thing to her. She was probably paying me back for all like the mean stuff I said to her, like, oh, you're bad association because you're disfellowship, but those things are cruel and those things are mean, right? And that's who I was at one point. And because people pushed me to the side and, said that they didn't want to associate with me, I went from one extreme to another extreme where, I felt so low about myself because I'm not following the Bible standards or the organization standards, of how a Christian should live. I went to the other extreme and I was like, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die, And when you lose that level of balance with your spirituality and your thought process, because you're always weighing your decisions on if you're going to die or not, your decisions become a lot more extreme. Like that whole YOLO lifestyle, like, you live and you're going to die, and, I only got one life to live, so I'm going to just, go at it. But that is not a healthy way to think, and that's not a healthy way to live. And that's why you hear some stories about people getting disfellowship and then they die, or they, or they have babies before marriage and all that stuff, is because, they spent their entire life trying to follow these rules. And then once you say, well, you're kicked out of this organization and you could potentially die, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do everything I ever wanted to do, because they suppressed all those feelings. And I feel like, I did the same thing. Like, I suppressed my natural feelings. I suppressed who I was. And the moment that I did something that I knew was wrong, I, just went crazy. And I just did everything that I could do, So I think that's a real issue within the Jehovah's Witness organization, is that people are not balanced and they become extremes. And I don't think those people that I did, all those crazy things, but even the people that swing, like they trade their spouses, I don't even think they're bad people. I just think, we're victims of being brainwashed, and everyone handles being brainwashed differently. Some people cry, some people kill themselves, and some people act crazy and act out. It's like children, when they're put in certain situations. Some kids get quiet, some kids act out, and some kids just stop trying, It's just like the Hulk, So, that is my really witness experience. And that's pretty much it. That's how I became a really witness. It was just, purely how I was able to survive. So that is it for this video. On to the next.